Hey guys, how you all doing today? Doing another dishes video. You should join in, right? Somebody asked me recently, why do I do these? Like, why do I do these, like, do your dishes videos, like, where I do a recording while I do the dishes? And I think part of it is that I like to encourage other people, but also myself. Like, we all have chores to do, right? We all have stuff that needs to get done, and this is one of those things that, like, the far right definitely has glommed onto, like the whole clean up your room, right? Stand up straight with your shoulders back. But it's like, yeah, it's true. Like, you have a chore that you need to do, right? It's going to take you 15 minutes. You know it's going to take you 15 minutes. You've been putting it off for like 2 hours, 3 hours, maybe a day even. And here I am to just be like, it's good that you do that. Maybe after you watch this video, or maybe while you watch the video, just get on up and do that chore just like I'm doing mine right now. And we can do it all together, right? It'll make you feel good. And of course, I like to remind everybody, I don't blame anybody for having this chore. Like, capitalism doesn't exactly grant us the time to do this. We all work like full-time jobs, running around, getting everything done, buying groceries, making food for ourselves, all this kind of stuff. Who really wants to take the time to, like, wash those dishes? Who really wants to take the time to, like, put that laundry away, right? Like, who really, really wants to take the time to, clean the toilet? These sorts of things, they don't take any time, but boy howdy, it's just like one thing after another, after another, after another, after another. So here I am at the preamble of this here video to be like, doing chores is great. It makes you feel good about yourself. It makes you feel like you've accomplished something. It makes you feel like you've done something for yourself, which capitalism tries to trick you into thinking that, like, hey, buy this gizmo, this gadget, this toy, this thing. That'll make you feel like you've done something for yourself. Eat this chocolate, drink this wine, smoke this doob. That'll make you feel like you've done something for yourself. But really, at the end of the day, the things that you're doing for yourself are the little things, the little chores, the little ways to make your space a little bit nicer, a little bit cleaner. So we're all in it together. I believe you can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. And in the midst of all of this, right, Doug Ford finally decides, oh, hey, you know how everybody's been saying we should have sick days? You know how I've been completely resisting it like a sociopathic narcissist, because that's who I am, a sociopathic narcissist. Well, finally, he's putting forward some sick days, and he's doing it the same way that, like, a teenager would clean up their room, right? With this, like, this sort of, like, begrudging complaining, this inability to, like, actually just do the thing. Because, like, every recommendation I've ever seen and every bill I've seen put up by the NDP is saying, like, 10 sick days is what we need. Like, 10 is an appropriate amount of time to give people the opportunity to quarantine themselves. Also give people, like, a little bit of leeway, right? Like, give people a little bit of some options in the midst of this. But of course, Doug Ford doesn't care about any of that. He doesn't care about you. He doesn't care about options, right? And at this point, he's just trying to save face, right? This is why the sick days that he's done have a deadline, right? So he's going to offer 3 sick days, but that expires September 25th, right? So it's not a fundamental change, right? Because capitalists can't offer fundamental changes to the system, or else people will start to realize, wait a minute, we could have always done this. Why are we listening to these, death cultists who are actually trying to sacrifice us in exchange for our labor? Oh, and then on top of this, you know how Dougie's going to pay for this, right? Like, you know that he's not going to say to businesses, hey, it's your responsibility as business owners to actually offer this, right? Like, I know it's going to cost you like $100. I know it's going to cost you like $200, but we'll find a way through it. So instead of doing that, he's going to pass the bill off on the public, because that's how these neoliberal, death cultists operate. They subsidize gains and privatize losses. That's how it works if you are a neoliberal, right? If you are one of these people on the far extreme right who is saying, like, no, we need to sacrifice everything for businesses and trickle-down economics and all this kind of stuff, right? Like, it's gotten comically hilarious, especially in a period of time where, like, Joe Biden just did his speech, right? And I don't believe a thing he says. Like, I think Joe Biden is a prolific and efficient and effective liar, right? His entire career has been one of telling grotesque, overt, overwhelming lies to the public, while giving enormous gains to Wall Street and, the wealthy across the board. But even Joe Biden feels the need now to say in his speech that trickle-down economics doesn't work, and it never did. If you're one of these people that pop out of these videos around this time, please leave a like, please leave a share, please leave a subscription, please think about donating to my Patreon down below. We need leftist voices. We need people on the left talking back to these neoliberals and these fascists who are taking over our political systems, to be able to push people like Joe Biden, like our own leadership, to the left. Because Joe Biden, like, at least he feels the need now to be actually talking the game, right? Like, he feels the need to actually say out loud in front of everyone, trickle-down economics doesn't work. He doesn't believe it, and he's going to do everything he can to ensure that the wealthy and the powerful maintain their positions of prestige, but at least he feels the need to say it. Doug Ford is so disconnected from reality and so disconnected from what's actually happening around him in even his own communities, but certainly in, like, if you don't drive a car, Doug Ford does not think about you, right? Like, that's a real obvious black and white, that if you are taking the TTC to work, if you are walking to work or biking to work or doing any of that kind of stuff, Doug Ford does not consider you as one of the people he needs to be concerned about. Doug Ford is concerned about the owners of Walmart. That's who Doug Ford is concerned about. He's not concerned about you at all. And it's really clear. Like, he's passing this bill, finally, after, like, 21 strike-downs, after huge, massive public humiliation, after an enormous movement. And what's incredible to me about this movement that's trying to get Doug Ford to get some, to just pass sick days, is that that's not even something that should be fought for, right? That's how despicable this is. It's so despicable that the conservatives are standing up and are actually putting up a fuss and are pushing back and are fighting against the idea that if a deadly virus outbreaks in your workplace, or if you are concerned that you may be infected with a deadly virus, well, too bad you have to starve, right? You have to choose between food and shelter for yourself, because the capitalists barely pay a livable stipend, right? Like, if you miss a day of work, it's a problem, right? Like, this is how ridiculous and absurd this situation has gotten, where the capitalists have ruined the structure so thoroughly that if you miss a single day of work, it's a problem, right? And, like, before the pandemic dropped, people were saying, like, oh, people are one paycheck away, like one missed paycheck away from insolvency, right? There's reports I'm seeing like 50% of the populace is a single paycheck away from being insolvent. Like, literally $200, right? $200 away from being insolvent. And our leadership is more concerned with, oh, but businesses will have to pay $100 to give people sick days, or $400. Who gives a crap, right? Like, it's actually embarrassing. Like, it's embarrassing to be a Canadian. It's embarrassing to live in this society right now, where we're willing to tolerate this obvious grifter who's, when he finally needs to, like, save face in order to attempt to win the next election, because those are the only stakes Doug Ford cares about, right? Doug Ford doesn't care about helping anybody. He cares about money for himself. I've said this all the time on this channel, right? He cares about money for himself, which is why he's like, he'll rush through the passage of these MZOs where we've got to make sure these long-term care homes get built so that we can grift the populace and create shithole conditions and subsidize our own wages from the public purse, right? That's the clear objective. But, oh yeah, I guess those, the Tim Hortons workers, they can just go die, right? That's fine. We'll replace them, right? We'll replace them. That's the grift that's right in front of us, right? That's and 20% of the populace still supports this. And the only reason Doug Ford is even moving on paid sick days is that now the numbers have shifted in such a way that if the election were held today, he would lose. And who would he lose to? Who would he lose to? He would lose to an empty chair that says liberal on it. This Stephen Del Duca guy, right? And Stephen Del Duca, I gotta tell you, the reason why he's doing so well is because his Twitter is better than the NDP's. And that's the simple truth. Like, Ontarians and Canadians in general, North Americans across the board, are very simple, very gullible creatures, right? Like, we don't really think about anything. We believe propaganda extremely easily. It's like, if you ever see the movie Galaxy Quest, there are these aliens in Galaxy Quest that the protagonists encounter, right? And they're these like sheepish and kind of creatures who don't understand the concept of lying, right? So the main antagonist can just continuously lie to them, and they'll just gullibly believe it, and then he'll continuously betray them, and they'll just go along with it every single time. And when they talk about the fact that he's lying, they're like, oh, he's lying, and he's, oh my goodness, I guess. And they don't even consider the possibility that he may be lying yet again. And that's us. Like, that's us. Our politicians continuously grift and lie to us, and we are just like complacent and willing to go along with this because we're too stupid to realize that we're being lied to. And when the liberals get in again with this Stephen Del Duca guy, they're going to run the same kind of grifts, right? Just when I listen to Joe Biden's speech, I'm like, yep, he knows what people want to hear, right? And Stephen Del Duca is going to be no different because he's a liberal, right? Because he's a liberal, and liberals tell people what they want to hear, right? And then act like conservatives do, right? It's no different. Like, they're going to do the same kind of stuff. Like, the only time that Wynne actually finally managed to get anything done for the populace was when we threatened her expulsion from the process, right? When we finally said, hey, Wynne, if you don't actually give us anything, we're going to get rid of you. And she was so ineffective in actually giving the populace those things and actually convincing the populace that she was interested in helping them, that she lost the election anyway, right? That's the story of Kathleen Wynne. Like, she works for corporate power, right? And then when the populace is finally like, hey, we're just going to vote you out, she scrambles to put together some kind of package that might actually help somebody. And you can see that that's the case given on how she rolls out the minimum wage increases. And then the populace obviously says, like, no, we're tired of you, right? We're tired of these games. We're tired of this absurdity. We're tired of this nonsense. So we're going to get rid of you. But when we got rid of her, what did we do? We voted in, like, the overt, obvious grifter. So, and now we're going to do it again. We're just going to pass the ball back and forth between conservative and liberal. And the liberals are going to say this stuff we want to hear, right? The way that Stephen Del Duca is doing, right? Stephen Del Duca is doing great on Twitter. He's doing great on Twitter. He's saying all the right things. He sounds like me, right? That's the truth. He sounds like me. He understands what people want to hear. He understands what they're going to do. But unlike someone like me who would get in and actually immediately start dismantling the system of power and capital, Stephen Del Duca is only saying those things so that he can save capitalism, which is the ultimate goal, right? Like, the capitalist system is in free fall collapse. It's going to end in a full revolution against it, right? And the populace seems more and more disgruntled as time goes by, and more and more willing to take chances on outrageous outside figures like Doug Ford or Donald Trump, if we remember. And so the And so under these circumstances, you know, you guys are doing really great. Like, you really are. Here I am doing my dishes, right? Talking about this ridiculous, like, apocalyptic level nonsense that we're involving ourselves in. And that's the best that we can do at this point. Is just do our own dishes, do the stuff that's around us, join organizations, non-affiliated organizations like Socialist Action, who I've joined below, right? They're involved with the labor unions. They've got members involved. I'm actually going to be doing interviews with these guys soon in order to really highlight, like, not only what the heck is going on in our own society, but what the heck is going on, like, why don't we know more about our unions? Why don't we know more about this? And it's just 100% because why would the capitalists inform us of what their enemies are doing, right? Why would they want to galvanize support? Why would they want to do any of that? They want people isolated and scared and alone so that we'll accept, like, the most meaningless, bullshit, tiniest reforms, like 3 sick days that expire September 25th. Like, this is Joe Biden's grift too, right? Joe Biden's grift is to do just, like, the most menial, meaningless, small scale, itsy bitsy, tiny, teeny reform so that the populace will think, oh, well, this is certainly better than what the Republicans were doing, at least, right? But it's not going to change anything because the rulers are still the same. They're still the same sociopathic narcissists. They're still interested in dismantling the civil society for themselves. Like, and sure, Joe Biden is going to raise taxes on people, right? Joe Biden is going to raise taxes on people, but then he's going to give them enormous, massive corporate giveouts, right? So, like, if Joe Biden gives someone $1 billion and then taxes $1 million away, who gives a crap, right? Like, and this is the grift that is going to be run in America. And they're just going to seed the ground for another Donald Trump style figure, another kind of QAnon movement, who's just going to take over that part, who's going to take over. And the only way that we can avoid that, right? The only way that we're going to avoid that is if Biden actually begins the process of dismantling capitalism itself. He's not going to do that. He's not going to do that, right? He's outright saying nothing will fundamentally change, right? And that's the absolute truth. Nothing is going to fundamentally change. And people are getting so desperate for fundamental change that they're starting to accept, just like, oh, well, this guy's saying that he wants to blow the whole thing up. Well, that's fundamental change. I'll take that fundamental change instead of this overt, obvious wage slave system that we live in. Oh, my goodness. Anyway, guys, this is going to be the end of this video. If you've made it to this point, you've got to share, you got to like, you got to subscribe. Those are the rules, right? I don't make them up. I just espouse them. You guys are doing really great out there. I know you are, right? You're doing the work that you got to do. You're taking care of yourself. You're doing chores. You're taking care of your little puppy like I've been taking care of this whole time. You are a divine being standing on divine energy. We could use some of it right now. Good luck. We're going to need it.